assignment. And so they're writing, as we had on here, there's a writing assignment to do every day. And so make sure you're always looking for the writing. Each day of the week there is something. Some days are just for you to be able to catch up. So the writing topic was, besides school, what cancellations or closures have been the hardest for you? So things that have been canceled or closed that have been the hardest for you. So on Monday, I had asked you to make a list and to brainstorm any cancellations, closures of places that are the hardest for you. And so I went ahead and already did this from Monday. So I wrote things down like restaurants, because I love to go out and eat, movie theaters, stores, not so much like Walmart, Kroger, stores like shoes or clothing stores. Nail salons is another one. Churches, hair salons. You can't go inside the bank. Can't go to parks and play. Malls like Easton. Fun like family places like Chuck E. Cheese, or a place I know that has like Jumpies and Triple Crown and arcades. You can't even have big family parties. We've missed a couple birthdays this year having parties anyways with the family because you can only have so many people. Hospitals. I have a granddaughter that was born a few days ago, and we couldn't even go to the hospital on the day she was born. And dentist appointments, eye appointments have all had to be canceled also until the reopening. So what you then had to do is today, so that was Monday, and on Tuesday it asked you to pick 3 of the top ones that are the hardest for you. And so I'm just going to go ahead and circle it. So my 3 that is really affecting me is having big family parties. Now I'm not talking like 50 people, but just even my mom and dad coming over, and my, all my nieces and nephews and the grandkids. Also, restaurants. I sure miss going to restaurants, even listening to some music at some restaurants that play. And the other one, I have to say, for me anyways, is hair salons. So I'm not able to get my hair done, and the nails either. But, so I did narrow down after brainstorming. I picked 3. So now today, for Wednesday, I had written on here for you to catch up on your writing from Monday and Tuesday. So today was just a catch-up day. So all you had to do is have your list and then pick your top 3. Now, I asked you to upload that onto Class Dojo. That is a new part that we added where you're able to even write this list right on the classroom portfolio for students and send it right to me. Or you could, like me, write it down on a piece of paper and then take a picture of it, and it sends me your work, and I can either approve it or send it back for maybe some things that need to be fixed. But for tomorrow and for Friday, I really wanted to go over that. So for Thursday, meaning tomorrow, you are going to, oh, nope, the other thing I'm supposed to do yesterday was my topic sentence. And so I'm going to move this right over here. And I'm going to come up with my topic sentence for my writing. And since we remember our topic sentence is really broad, I don't want to list restaurants, hair salons, or the big family parties, because those are my detail sentences. If I write about, in my topic sentence, restaurants being closed, then my whole paragraph, if you remember, has to be about restaurants. And I don't want to just write about restaurants. I want to write about the 3 things. So I'm going to write a topic sentence that says, there are many closures that have been very hard to deal with. I'm going to reread my sentence. I wrote, there are many closures that have been very hard to deal with. I think I'm going to actually, since this is just something writing we're working on, there are many closures that have been very hard. I'm going to add for me. I want to add for me to deal with. And I could have even said that there are 3 of them that I'm going to talk about, but I'm just going to keep it nice and broad. Again, I didn't mention restaurants, hair salons, or churches. So that is what you were supposed to accomplish on Monday and Tuesday. So today on Wednesday, you are able to get caught up. Now that leads me to Thursday. So on Thursday for writing, I asked you to pick your top 3, which we already have done, and to put them into detailed sentences. So this is where I can now take restaurants, hair salons, and big family parties and put them into a detailed sentence. Each one gets a detailed sentence. So there are many closures that have been very hard for me to deal with. And I'm going to say restaurants are places I love to go to and relax with family, friends, and yummy food. Period. So my detail sentence, restaurants are places I love to go to and relax with family, friends, and yummy food. So I've got my detail sentence for restaurants, so I'm going to cross that out. And if you're looking back, I started that sentence with a capital. No other capitals in here are capitalized because none of them are proper nouns. And I ended with a period. If we remember back to 4 points for a sentence, I've got my capitalization right. I've got the spacing in my words. And any words that you don't know how to spell, remember, as long as you have sounded them out, we can tell what words you're trying to write. Okay? All right, and my sentence makes sense, so that would give me 4 points for that sentence. And I'm going to go on to hair salons. And I'm going to say, oh my goodness, I miss hair salons so much because Because I need to get my, don't laugh at this, gray hairs gone. Oh my goodness, my gray hair. So I miss hair salons so much because I need to get my gray hairs gone! Exclamation point. I'm going to check and see if I have 4 points. I have a capital at the beginning of my sentence. And I have my spaces in between and my words are spelled correctly, or I have sounded them out from the beginning, middle, and end to at least get the sounds. That's 2 points out so far. I have a sentence that makes sense. My sentence makes sense. Remember, we whisper read our writing back to ourselves. If we read it in our head, we can't hear if it makes sense. You have to whisper read it back to yourself. So I miss hair salons so much because I need to get my gray. Oh, I'm so glad I could say my, oh no, I got that right. My gray hairs, there's my plural, gone. Okay, so I got that one down. I've got my punctuation to give me my 4 points for that sentence. So I've got my hair salons. And here is my biggest one. So I'm keeping myself lined up. I don't have room to start over here because remember, if I had room, that is where I would go. But I don't, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to write my biggest one I miss is hanging out with my family and friends, period. You'd be in there, but I wasn't gonna be, I'm not allowed to talk about school. So this is about things besides school. So I'm gonna read it back to myself. I'm gonna check to make sure I've got my capitals where they belong. Yep, my sentence starts with a capital and I don't have any other words in here capitalized because they are not proper nouns, they are common. I have my spacing in between my words, and I know that I sounded out my words. That gives me up to 2 points. I need to check punctuation. I've got my punctuation at the end of the sentence. That's 3 points. And does it make sense? Let me whisper read it back to myself. My biggest one. I'm not sure I like the word one. My biggest one I miss is hanging out with my family and friends. So my biggest, I might come back to that one. I'm going to circle that. I might end up changing that word because it just doesn't, I don't feel good about that word too much. So I am, now this is what you are going to do on Thursday. So on Thursday it said you already did your topic sentence. You were going to write 3 detail sentences, and I did. So if we remember, bear with me. If you remember, our green was always, and you don't have to do this, this is just to remind you. Okay, there's my topic. Now, I'm not sure you'll be able to see this yellow from there. Here is 1 detail sentence, 2 detail sentences, 3 detail sentences. So I know that I am almost there because we know topic sentence, detail sentences. I did not on this one use my transition words. I could have, and if this was my sloppy copy, I could go right back in there and add those in. So I am now on my closing. That is what you will do on Friday. So on Friday, it says that you are to write your closing sentence, and then you're going to do some editing with it on that sloppy copy. I'm not making you rewrite it. That's a lot of work with our writing, but I am going to go to my closing sentence. Now remember, my closing sentence cannot be a detail. We already gave our details up here. My closing sentence might sound something like my topic sentence. It's very broad, just letting people know what you've done and what you've written about. So I think I will put these, and I have room to write these, so I get to start it here. These are my top 3. Well, these are places, and these hair salons a place, restaurants a place, and hanging out with my family is a thing to do. So I think these are my top 3, I'll say just can't closures that are the hardest for me. So I'm going to check to be sure that I've got my 4 points for each sentence. So I've got my capital at the beginning of my sentence. There's 1 point. And I don't have other capitals in the middle of it because there's no special words that need to be capitalized. I'm going to get 2 points now because I did put my punctuation at the end. Now I'm going to get check my spacing and spelling. So my words aren't squished together. I see lots of good spaces, and my sounds are beginning, middle, end. And now number 4 is I'm going to whisper read it back to myself just so I can hear it to make sure it makes sense. So these are my top 3 closures that are the hardest for me. Okay, and then this is my closing sentence with my punctuation. Like I said, you do not need to do the colors. It's just to remind you of our structure when we write a paragraph that you are going to be doing by Friday. Now, I can go back in now and change any words like we used to do in class because this is my sloppy copy. And so I can go back, and I remember I talked about this word I wasn't sure of, and there's a couple other things I might want to change to make my paragraph more juicy. Now, once I fix that, Friday, I can either take a picture of it and send it right through my student portfolio on Classroom Dojo. But I do not want you guys to rewrite it unless you feel up to it, because you guys have already had a lot of work this week. So this is what your goal is by Friday. Please don't forget that you need to take a picture of it and send it in to me. And I'm actually very excited to see what things that cancellations and closures are the hardest for you to deal with. And I'm sure there's more for me. I could write a whole bunch more besides school, because school would for